4020.
Because it is the 4020 podcast. What day is it? The 16th of September, 2024. People think this program is unscripted, but I did run this intro past a couple of people yesterday at Wakefield. We're having to record early because Phil's going to the Leeds Rhinos end of season presentation awards tonight, which, yes, you thought was in April, but no, is indeed tonight. Unfortunately, the second time you do a joke, it's not as funny as the first, and sometimes not even the first time. The new 4020 magazine is out now. I have it in front of me. It'd be in the corner of the screen. It's in all good news agents, as is Terry's chocolate milk. It's a chocolate orange, but only tastes of chocolate, no orange. What's the point of that? Did York send you some free chocolate, Phil?
I'm hoping that article will inspire them so to do. I should have mentioned it to them yesterday, shouldn't I?
Disgraceful. Have you had any free chocolate recently, James?
I think that I have, no. Although when we buy sort of chocolates and bits and pieces to do the styling and staging on the homes that we're selling, it's very tempting to just eat them before the photographs have been taken.
How we haven't seen you for a while. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Just really busy, trying to spin lots of plates at the same time, and yeah, I'm about as good at that as I was refereeing, so not very. But no, it's really good. I mean, from a business point of view, it's really good. And I even watched what I thought was a good game this week.
Well, wow. That is hilarious. So you found the good game. Well, are you spinning as many plates as Sam Tompkins?
Maybe I am actually. Yeah. Although the developing some wine would be a good one to add to the list.
Do the referees need a team manager for the upcoming internationals? You could do that. I don't know what the team manager does, but you know, it's just something to stick on a CV.
Well, I listened to the podcast from last week that I missed, and I had that news pass me by, I must admit. So I'm still not quite sure what that actually means. As I'm sure you were discussing, he won't be booking hotels and organising bus trips and that sort of thing. So dare I say, jobs for the boys. I'd be interested to see what he's getting paid.
More than I imagine the team manager of, let's pick a nation that doesn't exist. North Korea would get paid, because I don't want to upset any actual real countries. So we have our problems with the way our sport is perceived and the way our sport is officiated. And it's not the officials, but the concept. I was at the ice hockey on Friday night in Sheffield, Champions Hockey League match, and they use video review sometimes. They have the coach's challenge, and a coach challenge an offside decision, which is a matter of fact. They aren't allowed to show the replays in the arena, and it took them 5 minutes to make a decision. So Rugby League, not that bad, but there were 8,500 people there, and you could have won $5,000 on the raffle thing. But apart from that, video referees, we're not that bad. We're not that bad, James. We're not that bad.
Dare I say we're good?
you can say we're good.
I just think it's the frustration that people have in football, isn't it? When you're in the ground, it is frustrating. So I think the more that you open up and show people and they understand the process, maybe they can hear the decision and the discussion that's going on. It fills that gap. About 5 minutes on any decision is a long time.
And players removed from the match for contact with the head as well. So it's not just us. We're all apart from football, who don't care. But that's it. How was your weekend, Phil? Even though I saw you less than 24 hours ago.
Yeah, I think the Super League weekend, 3 teams getting nilled and 2 of the others only scoring 4 points, probably won't go down as one of the most engaging. I suppose the saving grace of all that is that we go into the last round and the major questions are still unanswered, which is what you would ask for after 27 rounds. So I didn't see anything much in Super League that was intensely enthralling, but the antidote for that was going to a championship game at Wakefield yesterday to watch them play York, and it was a thoroughly enjoyable afternoon. Great experience. The match watching at what was Bellevue, and I'll, being of an age, will continue to call it Bellevue, was fantastic, because obviously the last time I'd been there, relegation was in the air and the ground was looking dilapidated, and you walked in yesterday, and even though it was raining, it was a great experience, and the game was good. 20 points to 4 to Wakefield. I thought York put up a really good defensive show, conceded 2 tries early on, and that to me was that and probably the way Leeds women played at Wigan to secure what turned out to be second SL were probably the two highlights of the weekend. Everything else, meh.
It's the Samat Ellis Stadium. That's the official name of it, I believe now. Scheduling. Obviously, this podcast not live this week. Usually Mondays at 6. That's where you'll find us, but we're not there this week. But everyone's upset now because Wigan have had their game against Salford moved from the Friday night to the Thursday night, which may or may not give other teams an advantage in the run to the playoffs. It's interesting when we do know that at least one game hasn't been moved when Sky requested it this season. And this has seemingly happened and everyone's upset. And how do we solve this problem, Phil? Because we've gone all through the season saying, well, we want all the games at separate times so we can watch them all. And now we've moved one and then people are upset because of the same integrity and whatever the other words are.
Yeah, I think that is a fair charge. One of the things I did hear today, and I don't know if it's correct or not, is that because there's only 3 video refereeing booths in Cheshire, they can't have more than 3 games on at the same time. Now, I don't know whether that's true or a convenient truth or couldn't be amended in some way. And then, obviously, you're going to get some game that's out of kilter with the others, and do you take the one where you get a narrative from the Thursday through to the Friday through to the Saturday, which again is what television would want, and whether we like it or not, it is television that pays the piper that calls the tune. But I don't know whether that's true or not, that part of it is down to video refereeing.
Well, let's ask someone who might know. James, is it because there's not enough referees or video booths or things?
I've no idea. As usual, well informed. I would think there is a limit on the number of booths, in fairness. I've never been to where they do the video refereeing these days, but they did do trials of video referees in ground previously. So I'm not sure whether there is the capability to have some in ground and some at Wilmslow as well. But actually the logistics of having 6 games on at the same time and having 6 referees refereeing on field and then 6 video referees, that means you need 12 officials. There isn't the number of officials to have the necessary experience that are active to provide the cover. Now, that will not be the reason why they're not happening on the same day. This should not come as a shock, and it feels a little bit like, deja vu. Here we are again, the week before the final season round, and we're talking about scheduling. This happens year in, year out, and there's always happened. So it's a bigger picture than just the referee. I don't know what the issue is, whether it's Sky, whether it's the clubs, or a combination. I don't know. In an ideal scenario, I think all games should be at the same time on the same day. But this is Rugby League. It's never perfect.
I think the only good thing is that because there is something riding on all bar one of the games, it's probably not going to affect preparation of any of the clubs. I mean, I think there's one club, maybe Salford, who probably know where they're going to finish, who might have the luxury of deciding who they want to play this week and who they want to preserve for the week after. But apart from that, Hull KR, who might have wanted to rest a Mikey Lewis, say, are not going to be able to if they've got a chance of still winning the league leadership. And that's where the integrity becomes, because if Wigan win on Thursday night, it may well alter Hull KR's team sheet, which may well then play into the hands of their opponents, which may well then give them an unfair advantage. And I think the other one is the, now that we know that the Catalan Hull game could either see Hull finish bottom or not, or Catalan make 6th or not, that actually is a much more important game than it appeared when it was decided to move the other ones. So again, how you decide which ones are going to play and which ones are not, I'm not really sure. But it's too late to be changing such an important schedule, I think.
I'm not trying to work out if Sky... Oh, sorry, James.
I was going to say the other advantage of having all games at the same time means you don't have to watch them all. So Hull against Catalan does not sound the most appealing game, does it? And it gives you a ready-made excuse to not watch each and every game.
We're not doing a good job selling the sport here, are we?
I think it's just reality, isn't it, at the moment? Looking at these scorelines from this last weekend, some teams have packed up and gone home. They're on the holidays already, aren't they?
Well, I mean, it's fascinating because, as Phil will attest to, because and here's the problem that Phil has, is that I'm part of this double act with him now. So when I got to Bellevue, people say, "Oh, Phil's already here." So that's great. But unfortunately for Phil, that means he's lumbered with me and my reputation. And I'm hoping this doesn't rub off on you, James. People might have a negative opinion of you. But
I already have a terrible reputation, so
that's why you
sorry
fit
to
in
inflict
perfectly.
it on you.
And you're both got celebrities than I'll ever be at Bellevue. So,
but the amount of things we learned yesterday, none of which are broadcastable, unfortunately. But one of the things we can.
the best topic we've had for a long time. They talk about those over the water cooler moments. That's exactly what we had with several people who all gave us information that may well turn out to be true, but none of which is broadcastable.
James will fill you in after. Other people, you have to wait because we're serious journalists and things. But one of the things that was told to us, and I can say this in vague terms, so it doesn't really matter because you'd have to join 101 dots. Is you talk about players putting their cues on the rack or on holiday or whatever the whatever euphemism we want to use is. But some clubs apparently there might be senior players who are refusing to play at the moment. Now whether that's true or not, I don't know, but. That's not a good state of affairs, is it? But at this stage of the season, with nothing to play for, maybe they've got contracts elsewhere for next season.
Injury prevention and making sure that you're in the right place to take up your lucrative appointment somewhere further down the line. I think all this week told us in Super League was that the good teams are very good and the teams that aren't as good as them are worse. That I don't think there was a result other than probably Lee, Hull KR and the gap in that one, which Hull KR winning probably possibly. All the other games just said where we are at the moment and going into the playoffs, we're a lot better than the teams that we played. So was it a huge surprise that Warrington put a big score on Huddersfield? Probably not. Was it a surprise that we're going to physically bigger and more intimidating than Leeds? Probably not. Were we surprised that Catalan couldn't score a point again this week after the way they played over the last 4 or 5 months? Probably not. Were London dogged and refused to give in like they've been in every game this year? Probably. I'm not sure we learned anything that we didn't already know. I'm just pleased that we're going into a last round where we can tell a few stories.
I'm hoping many of our listeners and viewers choose to watch Huddersfield and Castleford on Thursday night just out of spite. And good. I don't know who's commentating on that game, but good luck to them because they can just go there and probably say whatever they want because no one will be watching. So it's great news for them. I'm trying to think, is there any other news this week? Because I tend to think it's been a quiet, apart from everyone moaning about stuff that happened with scheduling, I think it's been a fairly quietish week. There's the announcement of the Hall of Fame and the Great Britain Women's Ashes team going in there, which is a fascinating concept. And I think we'll explore that in more detail as we go forward. But I'm trying to think of anything else that's happened. A number of emails from the RFL, very quiet this week, from what I remember. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Apart from the fact it's the women's semi-finals on Sunday.
I don't know if you want to get into it, but Richie Myler sent a letter to all the Hull fans.
I've not seen it. What's he said? Please buy season tickets.
We must do better, but season tickets are going up slightly. But words at this stage are probably not what Hull FC fans want to read or necessarily hear. It's actions, and he may well be the most well-meaning director of rugby for the time being until he possibly takes another role in the club. And the really interesting thing, I think, after this week's results and going into things like letters to the fans, because season tickets go on sale, is if you're a Castleford or a Huddersfield or a Hull fan, at this moment in time, why would you commit to buying a season ticket? And that's got to be the worry of the people that own those clubs. And I absolutely don't blame them for putting out letters saying we need you. But I think at those three in particular, maybe less so Castleford, although on the field they do now need to start delivering a little bit more than they have this year, which everybody understood the road they were going down. If it's a big commitment to buy a season ticket. It's a big expense. Why would you do it? Unless you felt that the clubs were moving in a slightly different direction.
I mean, Richie Miley. Oh, sorry, James.
I was going to say, let's face it, some of those clubs don't know which competition they're playing in. So you don't know where you're buying your season ticket for, do you, until the IMG scores are released?
Richie Miley's got.
Hull are grade A, Huddersfield were top end grade B, and I think Castleford's the only one where there's still a question mark over. But again, all the missives they've been sending out has been, we're fine. But you're right, we need to see how fine they are compared to, say, if Toulouse are slightly finer.
Looking forward to ITV bringing back Judge Rinder so Degsy can take on Richie Myler in the court of public opinion. So that should be good. And as I floated as an idea yesterday, and I'll put it together publicly now. If Lee wants some more AMG points for social media interaction and stuff, just have your owner do a podcast, because people will listen to it and it'll get lots of clickbait articles from the rest of the rugby league media. So Degsy the podcast, if you haven't done it already, Lee, get it sorted. Get it sorted. Let's start with Lee and Hull KR. Seeing as we're there, I mean, I'd be more upset if I was the owner of a team that lost 24-0 at home, admittedly to a good team in Hull KR, to be trying to work out why we lost at home and didn't score a point, rather than just trying to kick Richie Myler, who's not responding. He's not going to respond. Derek, it's not happening. So, I don't know. It's a strange Friday night of rugby, but a big win again for Hull KR, and they head into the final weekend of the season with their destiny in their own hands and all that.
Yeah, I watched this game, and don't get me wrong, when I watch the game, I don't watch it through spectators' eyes. I'm watching sort of more for the refereeing. But it was a pretty dominant performance by Hull KR, I thought, and pretty professional. I've not seen them play for a few weeks. I thought they were impressive. If Lee have got aspirations to kick on and do something in the playoffs and not simply just get into the top six, they're going to have to improve on that. Moylan really had an off game. Their kicking game wasn't the best. Finishes to sets and stuff. They didn't build pressure. I'm sure those are the kind of things that they'll be looking at going into this week and hopefully into the playoff. The week after. But yeah, Hull KR were impressive. Obviously, they had Minchella, Simbin, so they played with, and still Lee couldn't score. One thing I would say is these flares and fireworks, whatever they set off in the first few minutes of the game, it's like the old days, when Odsal was foggy in the winter for the first few minutes of the game. And because I listened to the game on Friday night on the radio, and then I reviewed it Saturday evening, I also enjoyed the delights from local radio of, I think it was an Elton John impersonator this week at Lee. So it's good to see that they're still keeping up with the halftime entertainment.
The Vegas of the North. Oh no, that's Blackpool. It's near enough. It's near enough. You weren't there either, Phil, but it's interesting how well Hull KR are going, and can they maintain that momentum? And this is the time where we'll get those questions answered now.
I think the important thing is that they were coming off a defeat against Wigan last week, where they felt they were a little bit unfortunate in terms of playing for 40 minutes. Was it 20 minutes of that game with 12 men? And most of the points that they conceded were when they were down by a player. So I think to come back the following week, to go away again to one of the contenders for a playoff place and not concede a point. I think Willie Peters said in his post-match interview that he felt that was arguably their best performance of the season. And I think it's not just because they were dominant over a good team, but because it showed the mentality of the week before. I think they really do need to finish in the top two, because I think if they get a week off, it refreshes the squad. They then get the ability to play at home for their semi-final, and I think that is a massive advantage of all the places that I've been this year. And I certainly will enjoy going again on Friday. The best atmosphere is when Hull KR only holds 9,000, and there are 9,000 in there screaming passionately for their team. So I think if they get a home semi-final, then that is almost half a leg into a grand final. You can never count on anything in a semi, but that is a massive lift up. I think the interesting contrast will be, Warrington, there is a huge weight of expectation. So they're going to be either second or third. Likelihood is, unless Hull KR slip up, third. The minute they go on that field in the playoffs, they have 70 years of pressure on their back. And it does weigh heavy. It really does. We've seen it with other clubs, that it isn't whether you're the best team or not. It's that the crowd suddenly goes a little bit quiet, and it gets very tense and edgy because of what you need to do to break this hoodoo, which is not to say you're not going to, but it's an added pressure. Hull KR can play at home. I think that's an added advantage. A bit like when Catalan have got to 2 grand finals recently, when they played semi-finals in an absolute riot for that home team, as indeed the officials will testify whenever they've had to go down. But it is, it's a major helping hand because it's so intimidating.
Never has Richard's t-shirt been more appropriate. For those who are listening on the podcast, it says War Games.
Just one final thing on Lee for now, because there's not much more to say until we know, how they're going to the playoffs and whatever. Have they been quiet on their recruitment, or is it just have just missed everything? Because if it is quiet, then that's fair enough for them. They can do whatever they want. But it must be nice working at the club where, if you're a player or on the coaching staff or whatever, all the attention is deflected away from you, win, lose or draw, because of the fella in the leopard print suit. And it's happened again. They nilled at home, and here I am. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what he said about Hull. It's absolutely amazing.
But do you think that's coincidence or clever psychology?
If I have an opinion, will he sue me?
Not if it's the same opinion as his, he won't. There's a bit of calculation in what he does, because I think you're absolutely right that the best coaches deflect away from their players, and they don't sort of use that blame card. They do that behind closed doors. So, they may have played appallingly, but the coach will come, I selected the wrong team, or I gave him the wrong tactics, or there's no point speaking to a player because it's me really that you need to be having a go at. And that is often a tactic to take pressure off the players. Brian McDermott used to be very, very good at that. Make it as much about him as he could, and make everybody think that it was he was responsible for whatever disaster may have happened any given week. Whereas behind the scenes, he was just taking the pressure off his players, and never more so than in 2017. When again, letters went out to fans saying, you've only got a certain number of games to prove yourself. They suffer a huge shellacking at Easter, and then he comes out after that game and says, oh, yeah, I think we've still got the ingredients to win a grand final. Lo and behold, everybody laughs, and they go on and win a grand final.
Helped by a Castleford player taking a page out of the future Josh Edo car playbook. But there you go. So, yeah, sometimes pay attention to what's going on in the NRL. You were at Wigan, Phil, the Brick Community Stadium on Friday. Leeds Rhinos beat Wigan in the Women's Super League, and they have guaranteed themselves a home semi-final against York on Sunday, which is at 5 o'clock or 5:30, can't remember, because the other one, the St Helens Wigan semi-final, is on after Liverpool women play in the afternoon at the Totally Wicked. So double header on Sunday in two senses. How good were the Rhinos women, Phil? Because they and the wheelchair team, the bright spots of the Rhino. I hope you'll be celebrating them this evening, of course.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because going back to your opening comment, which if you were talking about the men's team, I suspect the person that is the player of the year probably was the leading contender in April, because not too many have shone too much since. But it is a one club presentation, so the PDRL, LDRL, wheelchair. Women's teams will all be getting awards. The try of the year is across all of those disciplines. So yes, I mean the main reason for going is it's that one club, and that's exactly how I think every club should be celebrating what they've got. And the women played playoff football a week early. So the weather changed a little bit. There was a bit of a nip in the air. It's getting darker a bit earlier. The floodlights are coming on during games. Leeds teams tend to start playing playoff football if they're in that position. And the women who in previous years maybe haven't even been the best team going into a cup final or a grand final, but have come out on the right side of it, it looked very much like that kind of a display. Defensively very coherent, only conceded one try, which was on the back of a fantastic 80-metre break. But a couple of times in the second half, when they were threatened on their own line, were sliding superbly and shoving people into touch. And yeah, their forwards were physically dominant, but the big game players didn't do anything more than just play a big game. So Hannah Butcher and Amy Hardcastle, they just know what you've got to do in those kind of situations to guarantee a victory, and they did it really well. We're gonna have improved this year, although again, chatting to Dennis Betts afterwards, saying, would you deem this year to be a success? he's saying, well, we finished fourth last year, we finished fourth. So I think we're a more competitive team, and I think we can certainly build on it. But we're a young team and a relatively small team, and that takes a little bit of time. Well, certainly in terms of youth, it's all good experience, but you've got to build on the back of that. More time, strength and conditioning will make them bigger and stronger and have more endurance. But Leeds just look like a team that are going into the playoffs that are not going to be easy to beat. And when have we seen that before with the women? Oh, just about every other year.
Wigan's men, are they coming together at the right time as well? Because obviously they beat the other Leeds quite comfortably on the score, but I didn't see this game. I was out. So are they peaking at the right time, so to speak?
I think the amazing thing about Wigan that probably hasn't been said enough is that to win a World Club Challenge early in the season, to win a Challenge Cup final, and now to be on the verge of winning a League Leaders Shield, they've had to rotate their players. They have had some injuries and suspensions, but they look such a well-oiled machine at the moment. I thought Ethan Havard was absolutely outstanding at the beginning of the game. And they dominated the beginning and then never looked back from there, scored 2 tries in 7 minutes. And that was going to be the game. But although Leeds had 20, 25 minutes after that when they matched them, they're a very difficult team to pull back when they're 10 points ahead, because they're not going to give very much away. And you've got to be your absolute best to even post a point. So, I think it showed that Leeds have struggled all year and last year against big mobile teams. Same thing happened again. I just think Wigan know what they need to do and what form they need to be in to capture the big prize. I think they know that the League Leaders Shield is theirs because Salford's big game was this week to make sure that they were in the playoffs. And I think Wigan will get a week off to refresh. I think there will be some selection dilemmas. Every week that Bevan French and Jaifield play, they're getting more destructive because they're getting their fitness back to the levels they were at before they were injured. They're the real deal. They've got everything. Again, a classic example is because Liam Farrell is back now and Junior December's playing so well, Sam Walters can't get in the team. He's the 18th man. Well, he would walk into that Leeds team at the moment.
As no doubt many of the Leeds supporters had said last season when it was announced he was going to Wigan, and will still be the minority that will say. We're coming towards the break, so I don't want to start on anything new before then. I'm trying to think of what we can talk about in between, going back to Friday's action in Super, which is only the St Helens versus Castleford game. PDRL Grand Finals day on Saturday at Castleford. We talk about it always being Warrington's year in terms of the men's Super League. But for Wakefield Trinity, they've won the League Leaders Shield, I think it's 3 years in a row or 4 years in a row or something. And they've been in the Grand Final for the last 4 years and lost it 3 times. And this year at Castleford, they beat Castleford in the Grand Final. Another trophy's coming back to the home of Rugby League, Bellevue. And I'll play the interview in the break. Spoke to Lee Whiteley yesterday at Bellevue. He made his debut for Featherstone in 1989 against Castleford in the Yorkshire Cup and finishes his career in PDRL against Castleford, winning the Grand Final. So he bookends his career with victories against Featherstone. These are amazing stories in Rugby League which come up time and time again. It's bizarre. So we'll hear from him now because no one's got anything else to say, which is fine. We're going to have some chocolate. So, sorry.
I remember seeing Lee play when he was at Featherstone. But I don't know of a PDRL team that's playing that hasn't just got chock full of stories. They're great people who were all doing a lap of honour at Wakefield yesterday, getting an ovation from the crowd, as rightly they should. I think we've got the LDRL. I don't know if they call it the same Grand Final. But there's obviously that festival of celebration this weekend where they may crown a champion. But to be honest, anybody who's playing is a champion. And I just thought that when we got to Wakefield yesterday and we were told that people would be available to speak to and footage was available from there, I just think that's being treated in exactly the same way as any other team under their banner at the moment. And the more teams that can do that and genuinely mean it, the more That's the USP of this sport, and I know Wigan are very good at doing it. And so tonight, Leeds will fate their PDRL team, who finished joint third with Wigan. Where were Warrington? Did they have any celebrities playing for them this year?
Well, this is the question now, isn't it? Because mischievously asked, will Wakefield get to go to Australia and play for the World Club Championship against a team that is made up and is close to Adam Hills? But we don't have any celebrities at Wakefield. Well, Connor Lyons is kind of famous. People have heard of him, but he's not going to be the president of the RFL next year. So it's almost as if they did it for a documentary. But when does his presidency start? Is it
December? It gets voted in at the December RFL board meeting and effectively starts in January. Yeah.
Well, when we get the chance to question him, we'll ask him about it. And James, are they going to ask you to be the president? For surely, eventually they will run out of people.
Lord, they really would have to run out of people to ask me, wouldn't they?
That's a bit harsh of me. I'm sorry.
There's plenty of people that they can ask that's far more established and equipped than I would be. I think he's a good figurehead for it. And that's all it is, isn't it? As a role, it's when you look at the last few people that they've had, it's people that have a connection with the sport but have a profile and maybe can open a few doors and create a few headlines that that the sport perhaps may not otherwise access. So I think he's a passionate supporter of rugby league, and he's put the boots on and played, which is far more than I've ever done. And so I think it's a good appointment.
Can't wait to hear what he says that will cause clickbait articles like Sir Lindsay Hoyle did. That'll be good.
How was your inclusivity round at Headingley the week before? Because I know that you were fated in the posh seats. But does inclusivity mean what it should? Was it done right? Should we not have an inclusivity round for all the clubs at the same time?
I mean, you're asking a question that you already know the answer to, Phil, which is, but it's a leading question. I think somebody might say, Judge Rinder might say, but for me, that's my biggest frustration. Look, I think it was great that Leeds did it, and showing that they are a one club mentality with the different strands that they have to that club, and hats off to Jamie Jones Buchanan for leading that. I was sat on a table with members of the Leeds Rhinos DE&I committee, which I didn't realise they had. So that was really interesting, and there's people there with tremendous experience, and that's what we should do well as a sport. Tap into people with experience who have enthusiasm to share that knowledge and experience and skills and network with the sport to develop. I think it always comes back to resources, and Leeds is no different to other clubs. I think you mentioned this the other week, that clubs have posted their financial results and they're making losses. The top clubs are making losses. And if a club like Leeds, where they'd got 400 covers that night in that main dining room and all the hospitality that they have, are making losses, then it's very difficult for clubs to then justify spending money on areas of the game which doesn't directly bring in revenue. But what I would stress is that you have to take a long-term view, and by having an inclusion round, hopefully for the whole sport, or at least Super League to get on board, and then we can then generate some impact and some headlines through that, then actually can have a financial benefit to the board. It's probably something that is going to fall on deaf ears. It's like we've had Rainbow Laces round in the past, and it's never been repeated. It has to be a concerted effort from all the clubs to get involved, and if it requires IMG to score it, then let's do it. Because we are a really inclusive sport, but I think we have an opportunity to shout about it at a much greater level than we currently do.
IMG points for pride flags. That's the headline. That'll upset lots of people. That's what we like. We'll be back after the break. If you watch on YouTube, something nice and special for you as well. But for all of you, here's Lee Whiteley speaking after Wakefield's success in the PDRL Grand Final. Lee, congratulations. PDRL Grand Final winners yesterday. What was the experience like over at Castleford?
Oh, absolutely superb. I mean, we've been in the final for the last 4 years. 3 years, unfortunately, come on the wrong side of the scoreline, but yesterday was fantastic to get over that line.
to be in was it league leaders so many years in a row as well, and then just falling at the final hurdle? It must have been sweet, that final whistle.
Oh yeah, it was great yesterday. Everything seemed to fall into place. Our training session on Monday was absolutely spot on, and yeah, it was great to get across the line yesterday.
The key is it's PDRL, Physical Disability Rugby League, but it's still not physical out there.
Oh God, no! Yeah, I mean, there's, there's some real big shots that goes on. There's some real big guys that make some real, tough runs and tough tackles as well. So it's a shortened version of the sport that we all, live and breathe. But it really is a tough one as well. It's fast, hard, and yeah, there's some good collisions, should we say? Yeah.
Having been a pro at Featherston, what's it like being back out on the field in a different sense? A few years later, shall we say?
Yeah, well, I've played out most formats of the sport from junior rugby right way through. I said yesterday was my retirement game. I've played in the sport for 6 decades, from an 8-year-old at Eastmoor Dragons, right through to back on the field now. We work for Trinity PDRL. So yeah, it's been superb. It's been a great way to finish as well.
Are you sure you can't be tempted out of retirement next year?
Yeah, I'm 53 now, so yeah, it's the bones aren't as quick to heal, and the legs are a bit heavy today, even though it's only a shortened version. But yeah, it was a bit of a cameo appearance yesterday. I managed to cross the whitewash as well, which was good.
Fair to say then, it is a game for all ages, isn't it, PDRL? We see players of all ages getting involved.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think the RFL are really pushing for the junior side of the sport as well. So we have our exhibition games and our tournaments, and all the kids that are coming through. It's great to give them the format to be able to play the sport that they absolutely love. So yeah, it's good.
That moment of winning then. What did that feel like, knowing that for you that's the end of your career?
Yeah, absolutely. Just a release, really. To be fair, the lads are such an inspiring bunch of people, and it was for me personally to go out on grand final and league leaders winners was just superb.
We obviously you wish the team well going forward next year, but they've got to back it up and win another grand final. That's got to put the pressure on them again.
Well, they're all saying it. 3 times a bridesmaid, never a bride, and stuff like that. So it was great to go for that yesterday. In terms of next year, the guys are still got it in them. There's like you said, there's a various different age range within the team, but we've got a lot of youth, we've got a lot of speed, and I think that's where our forte is as a team. It's the speed side of our team that when we play at pace, there's just nobody can handle it.
And the important thing is there anyone in the squad who's got any contacts in Australia? Because obviously Warrington went over there with Adam Hills. Is there anyone in this? I'm looking over to see if we can get a trip to Australia to play for some kind of world championship.
If they do, I might come back out of retirement. Yeah, but a few years ago, to be fair, the 3 of our guys were selected to go across to Australia, and they had a fantastic experience. Connor Lyons, Darren Dean, and I can't remember who the other one was, to be fair, but yeah. They all went across, and yeah, they had a fantastic experience over there. The World Cup that we had last year, brought Australia to us and New Zealand across here as well, which were, really, really good. Made a lot of good friends. I worked with the New Zealand team last year on home soil over in Warrington, which were, fantastic as well.
For 100 winters, football and rugby have battled for the hearts and minds of sports fans. But now, in a brand new summer competition, Sky Sports presents rugby as you've never seen it before. The blinding new summer sport for fans who love a big ball game.
Super fast, super tough, super lean. The summer sport on Sky. On Tuesday at 7, the Halifax Blue Sox take on Castleford. Then on Friday, the men in blue and white visit Warrington. And that's followed by Oldham entertaining Leeds on Saturday at 5:30. Super League, live and exclusive on Sky Sports.
Quick, stop the gossip. For viewers, by the way, on YouTube, I haven't had a haircut. I've just got some headphones on, so it makes my hair look better. But when I take it off, it's not the same. Welcome back to the podcast 4020. You know that though, because you already been listening to the first half. There was something. Oh, that's it. I've got to wish the best of luck to Alton Raidettes, who are playing in a grand final at Featherstone on Wednesday. I tried to find out who they're playing against. I can't find out. But the granddaughter of someone I know is in the team and has been signed up by Leeds Academy. So good luck to Alton. And yeah, enjoy Post Office Road, which is more than Featherstone did yesterday, losing to Sheffield. We haven't talked about. Oh, sorry.
You were there last week watching Junior Rugby League.
Yeah, my nephew, the one who's not cynical, was playing for Normanton. He scored a try, actually. Nice try. But they lost in the end. I was critical of the defence. Everyone was critical of the match officials. I was critical of the defence. I thought the referees were fine. Mind you, apparently James Vella was rubbish yesterday and Wakefield won. So, what do I know? But speaking of, and this is a question we asked ourselves. Well, I asked you, Phil. And it's a question I'll ask you, James, because you'll have a better handle on this. Tara Jones was one of the touch judges yesterday at Bellevue. When do you think she has to make a decision on whether she wants to concentrate on being a match official or a rugby player? Because there will be a point, I guess, where she can't do both.
I suppose so. She officiates in a different competition, so she's not officiating the women's game, so there's no conflict of interest there. I suspect that she won't be officiating games even in men's competition involving the club that she plays for, so it avoids any conflict of interest in that respect. But yeah, I suppose the opportunities that have been afforded to her playing for St Helens and playing for England, it's a short-lived career, I suppose, playing, and there will always be the opportunity there for somebody to officiate post playing. Whilst that we have more women and girls officiating now, which is great to see, there's probably no one of Tara's experience officiating probably quite at that level. I don't think Caitlin's probably officiated for some time. She certainly won't be officiating for a while now. She's injured. So she has actually got a real opportunity there when she does decide to hang up the playing boots and concentrate on refereeing, because I think Phil Bentham's spoken about previously that his desire is to see almost a replication of what happens in football, that you go down one of two routes. So you either go down the men's route or the women's route as an official. And clearly, as a female official officiating in the women's game, you'd fancy your chances at officiating the major game. So, if I was Tara, I'd be carrying on playing for as long as I could, whilst I was still enjoying it and still, getting regular places in the first team and or England. And I suppose at that point, when you feel like you're either not enjoying it or not getting selected, there's a great second option there for you to have another 10 years or more and being involved in the sport.
Those who can't referee and those who can't referee write about it, Phil. That's how I think how it works. St Helens women won against Barrow quite comfortably, as you'd expect on the scoreboard. But Barrow the best of the rest of the season. So again, congratulations to them on their season in 2024 back in Super League. And then the men won as well. But the women lifted the League Leaders Shield, Phil, and they got medals. And as we've pointed out before, Leeds Rhinos wheelchair team won the League Leaders Shield and haven't got medals. So
hasn't gone unnoticed by them either.
Oh, that's good.
Campaign starts here.
Get retrospective medals as well. There must be some. Must be some around. Saints winning over Castleford, 40 points to 4, and I guess that's pretty much as I expect. The rest of the results now, apart from how close the game between Castellans and London was on the scoreboard, the rest of the games this weekend in Super League have gone as you would expect. Perhaps maybe it's in the 2Ks on Saturday slightly more than you would have expected, but nothing really to say about the games. I don't know. Is that fair? Is that a fair criticism of the rest of the action?
I think it's safe to say that Saints were more of a threat with 4 more of their top line players back, and that they are all but mathematically, although probably are even mathematically guaranteed a playoff place, because can't see any of the teams below them scoring the 100 and odd points they'd need to overtake them. So, objective one, I think, in what has been whether they want to use the word or not, transitional year, where they've lost quite a lot of their senior players to either injury or suspension or just changing the team around. When you lose the likes of James Roby, there's some more experienced guys like Tommy Vankinson now objective one is to make the playoffs, get as many people fit as you can, and try and dent somebody away from home, and they're capable of doing that. So I think the fact that they scored 40, possibly more roundly condemned Cass. I think Cass again have had a long hard season, and as soon as it ends, they'll be happy. Huddersfield, I thought that there were some players that would want to put on a show for the new formally announced coach, to make sure that they had contracts for next year, and capitulated. Hull, I think we're not expecting anything else from Hull at the moment. They seem to have a lot of very young players who've been overexposed this year, and who now you've got centres the size of Nenny McDonald and Tim Laffey, and you're running at the likes of Jack Charles and Logan Moy, who are going to be really good players, but physically have not got the build at the moment. Then that's only going to go one way. I think Hull's issues are more, how do they get the right senior players in to set the right example to the younger players, and not play the younger players too much at the early part of their career. And that's what their recruitment would appear to be doing. The fact that they've now gone for, mid-30s Aidan Caesar, I think it's so that Jack Charles doesn't have to play so many games next. They've brought Jordan Abdul in, who knows how to get a team around the field. You would think that on the recruitment they've done, they're not going to be challenging necessarily the teams at the top, but they're not going to be one of the teams floundering at the bottom. And again, as soon as that campaign ends, the better for Hull. So no, I'm not sure there is a lot you can say on any of the games this weekend, if I'm being perfectly honest.
I can't remember who said it on Twitter, so apologies for plagiarising this, but they made an interesting point about Hull's squad next season. Is they've got obviously a lot of young players coming through. They've signed a lot of old players, brackets mainly from Lee, and then in the middle there's nothing. So it's going to be strange to see how that meshes together. It's all about combinations. We're told, wasn't it, Phil? And gelling and stuff. So we'll see how they do that next year. And hopefully for the Hull fans, it's not another long year. But they're faithful. That's what it says in the song, and they'll be there in any kind of weather. So if the seasons haven't gone up too much,
I think their patience has been stretched, because they've not. 2017 was such a high, retaining the cup, breaking the Wembley hoodoo the year before, that like every club that wins silverware, they're expected then to compete for years after, because they're building something, and it's almost as if the balloon has been pricked, and they've actually got progressively worse, to the point now where there are some very staunch fans saying that it's a really tough watch at the moment, and they've just got to win them back, and they're starting from such a low base that yes, they are loyal, incredibly loyal, but I don't think you can count on that anymore. You've got to offer something more.
Let's not upset Warrington fans, because if we don't say how good they are, they'll get upset. But George Williams is on the front of the new 4020 magazine, available in all good news edits now, with his gum shield stuck between his teeth. The moment of truth, it says, not Silla's moment of truth. That was a dreadful TV program. But they won comfortably at Huddersfield. The image of the game was afterwards the shot of Sam Burgess, who's tall, and Luke Robinson, who's not tall, stood together on the sideline having a bit of a chit-chat about stuff. But it was a professional performance from Warrington. It was an evening where you'd flick between the two games when they were both, the Hull game was in the second half and the Huddersfield game was in the first half. But there's nothing to grab your attention on either game, because Salford were thoroughly professional, and so were Warrington, going through the motions, scoring loads of points, not quite as they try to close whatever mythical gap there is, but they're just getting ready for the big games. It was just a week of games where a lot of the results just happened, and it's no bearing on it doesn't mean Super League as a whole is rubbish and everything else is better. It's just one of those random weeks where the fixtures fall and everything's pretty much clear cut.
I think it just tells us that the season's too long, which again, not a news item. Anybody listening that wants to click this news, that's not it. Loot fixtures are an anathema in this day and age when we're talking about player welfare. And I think that some of these fixtures are loop fixtures as well. So we're seeing the same teams playing, that we've already seen too many times this season. And because the season is so long, if you are in that rut at the bottom, then you You don't need to be playing these games. Your squad is busted. Most of it is either moving on or been told that they haven't got contracts for next year. You already know some of the new players that are coming in to replace them. I just think you're asking for a round that has limited meaning.
Every minute matters, but not this week. James, I know you're busy, so this is a fair question for you to say no to. Have you watched the Sam Tompkins documentary yet?
No.
When you get a chance, which might be 2026 or something, but it's fair enough because I haven't watched the St. Helens documentary yet. I need you to look at his performance as a match official, because he does get involved a lot on the field, and I think you'll enjoy it because there's a lot of language. There's a lot of language in it. Make sure there's no little ears around, because you don't want them hearing some new words from Sam Tompkins.
No, it does look really, really interesting. There's bits I've seen, and I would love to see it. It's just finding the time to do it. But I think Sam's missed a trick there, hasn't he? Not taking up the whistle.
Yeah, he's been taking up the whistle without actually having a whistle. He was doing it again on Saturday night for the Dragons, who struggled to beat London. But every time there was a decision or the referee wanted to speak to anybody, Sam was going forward, going, "Yeah, I understand. But I just thought I'd point out to you."
As you get a little bit older, you grow wiser, supposedly, and what you lose in pace, you can use in trying to sort of officiate the game from one side or the other. It doesn't work.
The only thing that I took from that game, because after you watch the other two games on Saturday, you're pretty much rugby down. You think, I don't really want to watch anymore, but there's nothing on, so I'm going to watch it. It did come across that Marcus Griffiths' hand signals were much larger and more expressive, as if he was trying to explain to people who were foreign what was going on by doing that thing where you speak slower and louder. I don't know if he does that all the time or not. I've just never noticed it, but it just came across that way. It amused me. It was not a criticism of him. It just amused me in a game where it was close, but it was still a bit meh.
Let's say Marcus likes to be different, I think. But yeah, maybe it's a touch of Gallic expression.
Playing to the crowd, because you've got to get them on your side, as we discussed.
I love the way he blew an end to each of the halves. There was a very, very dramatic gesture that went with the blowing of the whistle to tell everybody that this performance is now over for the time being or permanently.
Referees are personalities too. Thursday night, Wigan versus Salford, Huddersfield versus Castleford. On Friday, Hull Kingston Rovers versus Leeds, Lee versus St Helens, Warrington versus London, and on Saturday, it's Hull versus Catalans. I'm going to be out. I'm not going to watch that. Let's go to the Wheelchair Super League. What happened in the Wheelchair Super League this week? For London beat Hull, didn't they? I'm trying to get the Super League website to work.
We now know the playoffs that at home to Wigan. And Halifax will be playing London. Hull miss out. I don't know the full intimacies of their team selection to go down to London this week, but a couple of the big name players weren't there. And I think London ran out relatively comfortable winners. So there's still a game to be played in the regular season this weekend when Leeds take on Wigan in what is a rehearsal for the big game the week after between the two of them. So it'll be interesting to see again who plays in that and how seriously it's taken by certainly Wigan, because I know Leeds want to go through the season undefeated. But yeah, the fun really starts in a fortnight.
I was going to say, Phil, if we take our boots, we might get a game, but you don't need boots. So if I take my Skechers, I might get on the pitch if they can register. I could be another. I could be. Do I get a heritage number?
I'll mention to their head coach later this evening when I see him that you are available for selection.
I am available for selection. I'll put my hand up for selection this week. Does that mean I get a medal? Well, no, because no one gets one. Women's Super League, just to clear things up, York won 32-6 away at Featherstone, so not enough points to finish above Leeds, so they will travel there on Sunday. And Huddersfield beat Warrington 36-0. So into the exciting playoff things now, which are too difficult to understand. So we'll just ignore them. In the Championship on Saturday, Toulouse 38, Halifax 18. Bad news for anyone who backed Toulouse -20. On Sunday, Dewsbury 16, Swinton 28, Doncaster 30, Widnes 14, Featherstone 6, Sheffield 20, Bradford 16, Batley 14, Wakefield 20, York 4, and Barrow 34, Whitehaven 14. So the Swinton Lions' great escape continues apace, Phil.
They need to beat probably Doncaster at home this week to get away from that 12th spot, which is hanging around until you have to play the winners of the League One playoffs in the match that determines promotion relegation. And whilst obviously that I think they're now safe from the automatic relegation post, they're not yet. There's still work to do. Barrow go to Wakefield on Saturday night. Lot would tell you they're not going to win. So if Swinton can beat Doncaster at Sale on the Sunday, then that might be the game that sees them safe. And their celebrity fan was in earlier, eagerly wanting to know what their fixtures were and the likelihood of them avoiding the drop, and left slightly more upbeat than when he arrived.
Excellent. 3 games on Saturday. All kick off at 6. Widnes Toulouse, Wakefield Barrow, and Featherstone Dewsbury. The big games on Friday, of course, Sheffield at home to York, as York look to get in those playoff places or secure a playoff place. And on Sunday, Halifax Bradford. Well, actually get a nice crowd in for Halifax and boost the coffers. Batley versus Whitehaven, and Swinton versus Doncaster. As mentioned, the League One playoffs are underway. He says, clicking on another tab. Victory for Midlands, 24-22 over Workington. Rochdale beat Hunslet 30 points to 18, which means this week we get Keighley versus Rochdale and Hunslet versus the Hurricanes in the playoffs. I think that's all the matches.
I think last week mentioned that Midlands had made the playoffs for the first time in their history. Again, a late try saw them beat. The ride goes on. The big question is, will Jake Mamo play at Hunslet this week? Is in fact he even in the country? Was it a publicity stunt? We'll never know, but it doesn't matter because Keighley have had their week off. They re-enter against Rochdale. It's bubbling up nicely, but again, there's this extra round that they've got to play to secure any promotion. I suppose the other news stories we're expecting this week to hear who the new team is in League One next year. I believe there's an RFL board meeting tomorrow or Wednesday, and that's on the agenda. And the favourites now apparently of the 3 are Goole, I hear, who may have James Clark, the ex-CEO of Hull, heading up their bid.
What's their IMG grading? Because one assumes they'd have one, being into this process, and they don't have one, do they?
I don't know. I suspect.
Well, no, I'm asking a question.
No, they'd have one if they were in. Whether they will have one on entry and whether indeed there is still an outside chance of Bedford, I'm not sure. I do think that of the 3, Anglian Vipers not completing their domestic season probably has ruled them out. Again, logic says that when it's discussed with the other clubs, would they like to go to Goole, where they can probably get a local bus, or go down to Bedford, which is another huge expense, then they'll have said, playing standard one thing, coffers another, would like to go to Goole, please.
So what's the rationale to expand along that narrow corridor that we've not really done very well on the M62 to plant a new club?
The bit between Castleford and Hull, that bit.
Yeah. I thought you used the word rationale for a moment there.
Oh dear. Okay. Interesting.
That is one word for it.
I suspect that the thought is that one of the reasons clubs in development areas have failed in the past, particularly in League One, is that they've had no access to local players. So they've tended to bus teams or wherever down to play under the banner of whatever that club is. Whereas if you have it in Goole, then you're going to pick up the players from Castleford and Hull and offer them a chance to play at a semi-professional level. So I suspect if there is the rationale, that might be what it is.
It does make sense. It is common sense out of the 3 that were being considered, in fairness. I'm being a little bit churlish, but in some ways Doncaster became like a second team from Hull, didn't they? Maybe it does plug a gap between Castleford and Hull.
Should have gone to Selby. I could have been their celebrity fan as a former Selbian. Is that what people from Selby are called? It's a bit close to what TikTok thinks I am. So, anything else to mention? The one thing I do that does annoy me, and this is very parochial, is kit clashes are always a thing. Why are there 3 teams in Wakefield, as in villages and towns, Normanton, Eastmoor and Stanley, who all wear red and black? They should all be banned from wearing red and black and have different kits, because last week's final I was at was Normanton versus Eastmoor. Now, granted, they had different variations of red and black, but the same basic colours. It's stupid. It's stupid. Stop doing that. And Featherstone, again, streaming their women's game yesterday, so why aren't we doing more streaming again of everything? But women's semi-finals on the telly on Sunday, so that'll be good. Wheelchair semi-finals on semi-final, I think. I don't know if both are on the Sportsman or one or the other. And they've got the championship playoffs and
Just one. I think they just got the top rank game.
so there's going to be plenty. I can't believe we are in grand final season already, and that the Super League haven't come up with a hashtag with no vowels in. But I was going to say there's no vowels in IMG, but the first one's a bloody I, so of course they have. But I don't know. I think that's it, isn't it? I think this is the thing. When we're not together, we don't end up rambling about things because we feel we're against the clock and stuff. So it kind of makes things tighter. But I don't know. Nothing. There is nothing obvious that happened. And next week we'll have the Dream Team is announced for us to say, oh, and then move on to something else because it doesn't really matter. Who puts together the Super League team of the week? That's what I want to know.
Old Trafford. The road to Old Trafford.
They're all
And I feel because my camera's cut off, I should probably show my T-shirt because it's.
Oh, look at that! It's Lions.
Look, the Lions.
They're not coming back.
Who knows? Who knows when we'll see that again?
I think it won't be in the foreseeable, if ever. Right.
Still waiting for the results of the survey.
Yeah. It's not happening anyway, so.
On that survey bombshell, James. If we don't see you next week, we'll see you again soon. You know, but it's good. It's good that you're busy. That's the main thing.
Yeah, no, it is really good. And I shall be watching Hull Leeds this week, so at least I'll be watching one game. A decent game there.
I've just found this actually. Speaking of the Great Britain Lions, here's a cassette tape produced by the Rugby Football League to celebrate the centenary. Is this in the archives anywhere? Do I need to digitize this and send it to the Rugby Football League? Look, children, this is a cassette.
Who narrates?
Let's have a look. Crawford Logan.
Crawford? No idea.
Acknowledgements. Kath and Gary Hetherington. Put them in the right order. Order of importance, though. You're not mentioned though, Phil, so it can't be that good. But who is? But someone who is on the list, Rodney Walker, on that bombshell.
Sir Rodders.
Special podcast coming up on Friday, which will be out of date by the time you hear it, but it doesn't matter for reasons you'll find out. Thanks, James. Thanks, Phil. Buy the magazine, and we'll see you next week.